Hello and welcome to the AI Advantage Live. We're here today in the podcast studio. We are all coming from Velstar, but I'd like to start with some introductions before we get into it. And while I wait for a few people to log on as well, it usually takes a couple of minutes. So first up, I've got good friend Eugene with us. Eugene is the architect of the group today. He's the one who builds the things under the hood and makes everything work in the back end. Eugene, you also play around a little bit with... you've been brought into Velstar to look at AI for us specifically, right? But you love AI and you it's something you do at home as well, I believe.
Yeah. Basically, I just started with AI when AI started a couple of years ago. It seems like it's been ages, but yeah, I've been just passionate and trying a lot of stuff, and most of the time it became from a hobby more in a product, something more productive. So I've been building agents, building workflows in my spare time, but also at work.
Nice. And there's a game in there as well somewhere, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there is also a game development as well, yeah.
Nice. Next up, we have Rob Clark. Rob Clark joins us from our SEO team. Rob Clark has a master's in creative writing, I believe, and you also have a couple of books already published.
I do, yes. I am one of those annoying people who can't sit still for very long.
Brilliant. And Rob is really our storyteller of the group. Rob brings together that sort of gap between having to write content for humans, but then also pleasing the bots and the AI agents out there to make sure that our clients' content is visible. And then last up, we got another Rob, so that'll be a bit of confusion throughout the day. We've got Rob Watts with us. Rob is definitely our sort of growth specialist of the group. Good background in paid media, specifically paid social. But interesting thing about Rob is he's also built up brands over the past as well and moved them on, haven't you? So you understand a little bit more about the bottom line, I suppose.
Yeah, I know the struggles, I know the excitement, so yeah, it's easy to replicate for clients. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but makes it a little bit easier.
Definitely. Brill. Introductions out the way. My name's Kieran S. Lawler. I'm Director Marketing at Velstar, and I'll be your host today. So let's get into it. I think to start off, gents, is really just talking about like what has actually happened to the world we live in, right? It's crazy. I mean, sort of AI has been around for 3, 4, 5 years to the point where you could access it and you could sort of play with it, but it felt a bit of a toy in the past for me as a marketer. I was always waiting for those sorts of programs to pop up where you could actually start to use it, but not just from a professional environment, personally as well. It's sort of taken over the game. You hear so many stories of these people with, using AI as their therapist or as their PA and things like that. But just from your opinion, Eugene, just start off with, mate, how have we got ourselves into this world that we live in now?
It's funny, and because everything's kind of started like a game. I remember it was the GPT-2 era when it started, and I remember someone was telling me, "Did you hear about this Chat GPT?" I was like, "What is Chat GPT? What gimmick is another chat platform or something?" And then I went on it personally, and we just started, "Oh, is it talking to me like a real person?" Wow, that's fascinating in that sense. But over the years, it advanced so much that it became more than autocomplete or a language model. While at the roots, they're still just language models.
Yeah.
Now we're moving into an agentic era where basically we can use these LLMs can actually delegate tasks and work on a longer period of times. So it's not they're expanded from being a reactionist to actually making good decisions and being able to work on a task for multiple hours, this actually is the part which can improve our workflows and also be used in the enterprise.
For sure. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think sort of touched on that a little bit with in the past. It did feel like a bit of a toy, and you'd see these AIs popping up left, right, and centre. I think it's took a while for those dominant forces, your Chat GPTs, your Geminis, your Claudes of the world to really put a stamp on things and sort of get involved. And the investment from these tech companies is ridiculous as well, right, in terms of what they're pushing into it. What about yourself, Rob? How have you found sort of living in this new as a creative writer? I suppose this must have been a big shift for you because it was always pen and paper, and now it's you've got a little AI friends or AI agents to appease as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I won't lie. I saw it and I was skeptical to begin with, like a lot of people. I mean, writing is something that I do as a passion. So I never liked the idea of having to pass it on to something that could just generate sort of subpar content as well. But like as we've sort of grown to understand its capabilities a bit more, you actually can see that it's like there's a use for it, and when you use it properly, it can be really valuable. I mean, like if I can't remember the exact amount, but there's a staggering amount of AI generated content just out there in the world now.
Yeah.
And by the end of this year, that's going to nearly double. And that just goes to show how easy it is to use. I mean, something I was going to mention actually is in the first 2 months of like adoption, ChatGPT had over 100 million users sign up in 2 months. That's the biggest product launch of anything ever.
Amazing.
Which just goes to show how valuable it can be. I mean, a lot of people, like you say, sort of went into it for the gimmick, but we're sticking around because there is like value to it. And like I say, yeah, it's about learning how to use it properly. It's like you can use it to create something of a low quality if you want, or you can spend the time understanding how to work with it and put something out there that is actually very useful.
Yeah, and I think that's the knowledge gap at the moment, right? I think this will evolve over time. Is exactly what you're saying. How people are actually interacting with the app. You know, it's quite easy to think, oh, everything I'm being saved is factual as well, and we know that's a big issue because it's not. It is an I always struggle with that LLMS model. You know, so it is only pulling you know, words that people can see from the internet, and some of those words ain't true. And, you know, it is getting into people's feeds and they're over trusting it, I think, to a certain degree. But you mentioned then about that mass adoption, and, you know, people now have it. They're kind of getting used to it. I mean, you mentioned also about being a little bit skeptical. I'm now at the point where I'm like, I don't want to lose this thing. You know, like I want ChatGPT in my pocket all the time. I want to be able to access it. It's probably one of the more used apps on my phone as well. And that could be for anything, right? You know, It could be for work, and we use it in Velstar, and we'll talk a little bit about how we apply it for our clients and for our business. But just in general, just searching stuff that would have been a Google search in the past, I'm finding myself over on ChatGPT a lot more for that type of stuff now.
Yeah. I've got a question for you. How many I'm
the one meant to be asking the questions, Rob.
I'm firing one at you. How many prompts do you think are used daily on ChatGPT and Claude and all of them?
You mean just in general, like how many people?
Yeah.
That's got to be in it. I'd go for 1 billion, to be honest with you.
2 billion.
2 billion.
Every day.
Yeah, that's one of those billions is mine, to be honest. Just asking him what to do next. Rob, how have you found it with just in terms of everyday use? Obviously, we've seen the mass adoption take place now, and have you had any sort of? I'm assuming you're using it personally and professionally, right? What's your thoughts on it?
Similar to Rob, to be fair. So I think when it first came out, it was really good to just get in the deep end and use it as a sounding board almost, rather than what we're using it for today, like some really in-depth analysis or research. But I was using it as a soundboard. I was asking it anything and everything pretty much. Trying to do that a little bit less because my critical thinking skills are not up to par because of it, I think.
That's a worry though, isn't it? Is it doing too much of the heavy lifting for us, and are we going to become sort of, you know, I was saying then I don't want to lose it, you know, but are we going to become to the point where we're like we can't, you know, we can't function without it?
Yeah, I seen a blog about how when the calculator was first introduced to the world and everybody was like skeptical, worried about it because it was like, well, what's this little machine it's gonna add up for me? I don't have to think about adding up anymore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar of what ChatGPT is, but it's on, or any other AI system, it's that basically on steroids. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a decent ride so far. I think early adoption was pretty cool, but especially in the paid social space, it's allowed for a lot smaller brands to be able to compete with larger brands, and it's allowed larger brands to scale up to insane figures, really.
True. Yeah,
through every part of the process as well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And we'll definitely start getting into that more as we go on. Do you have something there, mate?
No, just a small comment on the matter of people basically starting to get used to it, and the fact that we are be losing a little bit or some of our abilities. And you mentioned the calculator, and my comment was the same, for example, with the phone numbers. I remember there was a day when I used to remember phone numbers, and I knew them all, and I was dialing them. Now I can't remember phone numbers.
Yeah.
So I guess as with any other technology that actually entered our world, and some of us that are a bit more older, we saw the difference, for example, from internet and social media.
Yeah.
We do feel that there is an advantage, but also a disadvantage as well. So in the same manner, AI, it comes in as a tool. It's going to be an advantage, but it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So we probably will have to adapt to.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And we've seen it with technology changes in the past, like you said, where, there's always skepticism around those tech changes, isn't there? But it's those early adopters, it's those people who can sort of grab it and run with it. And I think we are doing that at Velstar, to be totally honest with you. We've got the AI committee set up. We're employing people like yourself who solely focuses on AI. And, we are utilising the tool ourselves to make sure we have that sort of early adoption and make sure we are using the right prompts and having the right sort of conversations with it. Let's talk a little bit about sort of the business side of things, right? So one of the big things at the moment that I'm really interested in, this sort of answer engine optimization, if you like. So it's now that people are using, their chat, their AI, whether it be chat, we say ChatGPT a lot, but could be anywhere, platform agnostic. But they're using it to now ask the same questions that they used to ask Google, right? So I was looking for a pair of trainers the other day, for example. Usually I'd go onto Google, black trainers, size 11, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm having that conversation on ChatGPT. So how important is it for companies to make sure that they're sort of showing up in this new era of search, if you like?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there saying it's conversational now, because it used to be more transactional. Like you would go on Google, you'd say the best flip-flops, whatever, and you'd get those search results. About 60% of traffic went to the first couple of organic searches you'd get, and you'd spend half an hour, however long, looking through, trying to find the right one for you. You don't necessarily do that because search it's more multifaceted, which is a good thing because we as humans, we're multifaceted.
Yeah.
And it's conversational now. The average LLM query, so that's large language model, in case
you can say it much better than me.
Yeah.
I always
large
struggle with
language
that one.
model. The average query is 23 words, and 70% of those are unique. So it's showing that you are having these conversations with your chatbots and treating it more like a professional or an expert in that industry. So you come to it, you ask it questions, it gives you some answers, you work down on that and sort of come towards an answer that's more tailored towards you. And obviously that has its impacts. I mean, a lot of people will have seen that traffic overall has dropped for everyone, basically. But it doesn't necessarily mean that conversions have dropped.
Yeah.
And ultimately, traffic is a vanity measurement. If it's not going to convert, it doesn't matter if you're getting 200 million people coming to your site if 10% of those people are going to actually go through and purchase something.
Yeah.
So it's more about working out how to anticipate that. And those searches that are unique, that are multifaceted, that have got several layers to them, you've got to work out how to approach that and adapt your brand to that type of conversation. It's like a completely different way of thinking to how we did even a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because in the past it would usually be one search followed by a click, and then you're sort of, someone's captured you then, right? And then that user is yours to then spend on the website and explore. But now it's one search followed by another search followed by another, in terms of the conversations that they're having. So how does that change from, obviously we have to anticipate the first search term to make sure that we're showing our clients are being visible in those sort of conversations. But we have to anticipate the second, the third, the fourth. Where do you kind of stop? Where do you draw the line?
There is no right answer to that, because ultimately it's not about necessarily saying, oh, this person's going to search for this type of shoe, so I'm going to say, if you're looking for this type of shoe, pick this brand or whatever. It's more about sort of approaching it in a load of different ways. Obviously, content's a huge part of that, whether it's articles, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's even just like the content that's on like a product description page. But it's also other things, like you're having to look at the internet as like this 2-tier model now. And one tier is humans, but the other is AI. And you can think of that as like different audiences. So and in the same way as if you were like if you were working with people who are English speaking or Spanish speaking, you wouldn't completely ignore the Spanish speaking people just to focus on the English people. You have to think about this in a different way. So it's about building trust in loads of different avenues, and like
it makes sense. And I suppose I just kind of go back to that question I asked you as well, is, you know, one person's fourth question could be someone's first, I suppose, isn't it? So no, it makes sense. But yeah, I think we are seeing a lot more of that sort of consumer browsing being done. And like you said, taking inspiration from the conversation, thinking that it's a bit of an expert in that space as well. And being a little bit more niche with the initial request as well. So we've obviously pivoted as an agency. You know, we are we've launched our AI ebook earlier this quarter. We've been creating a lot of content on it. We're doing a lot of things internally as well. Rob, just back to you, mate, on the actual sort of SEO department and our functionality. How have we had to change to make sure that we're ready as a digital agency to support our clients in this space?
So there are a number of things that we're doing. Obviously, we're trying to make websites sort of work for those two different audiences, your AI and your people, because ultimately people are still going to trust people. So you can't just ignore that fact. You still have to provide information in a clear way that can help them to build trust.
Yeah.
But you also have to consider the AI side of it, which is a lot more structured, and it has a different way of seeing information. So you can sort of think of it as a bit of a Venn diagram, where to get, for example, you know, when you go on Google and you get the AI overview at the top.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want to be trying to drive your website towards that because it's such a big thing. Google's not going away. So you need to have that as like your end game metric instead of clicks through to your website necessarily, because they will still come. It's just in a different way.
For sure. Yeah.
So if you've got this Venn diagram, you can think of it as like relevancy, authority, and extractability. And if you can nail those three in the middle, that's where you're getting those citations. So That's how you're teaching AI.
So it's another layer to content writing almost that we have to now be mindful of, and we have to sort of adapt our content in a
absolutely. And it doesn't necessarily even have to come from your website. I mean, a couple of years ago, if you said to a client, I think you should have, for example, a Wikipedia page, you'd say, well, you're just wasting my money there, because who needs a Wikipedia page for a random brand?
Yeah.
But now that's somewhere that AI will go, this looks like it's a authoritative topic.
Yeah.
Let's just check and see if there's anything else that I can back this up with.
Right.
And Wikipedia is one of those places where it will look.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not think about Wikipedia. I haven't thought about Wikipedia for a long time. So you said it then.
Yeah. A massive amount of Wikipedia's traffic is now just AI going there to double check things.
Yeah. No, it makes sense though when you say it, for sure. I mean, from a Rob, from a paid social perspective, we've been toying with AI for a little while in the agency. I think we've got to a point now where we're quite comfortable using it, or we're very comfortable using it, to be totally honest with you. Mm-hmm. How has it changed our sort of, we kind of just covered how we are creating content to feed AI, but how are we actually using AI to feed our content?
Yeah, so at the moment we're using Claude. So Claude is really, really powerful. Started out in ChatGPT and kind of progressed up to Claude as the agency did. And we are building skills and artifacts and so on to help aid everything that we do within paid social. So, for example, ad copy is a really strong point to talk about. Previously, we've obviously been writing the content based off competitor research, based off brand tone of voice and how the brand speaks online and offline. But now we can use these agents or these skills and artifacts to basically do all that heavy lifting for us. And by feeding it correct information from, for example, a site or from offline online material that the business has already produced, it means that we can be laser focused on that tone of voice or the language style of that specific brand. And that feeds right through to our ad copy for ads. So what we do for a number of clients, especially on paid social, is we create like a go-to-market plan, which is big spreadsheet, which has a number of different tabs on. You'll find like your ad copy in there, your competitor research. And this was previously a really manual process, but it was a really good manual process because you understood the brand as you were doing the research, obviously. Yeah. Whereas now we've pivoted towards using AI to help fill that out. It does it in a tenth of the time that it would have took us previously. So it means that we can focus on digesting the content that it's put together for us. We can obviously QA it as well as we go, because we all know that AI loves to hallucinate now and again. So you can't be too trusting of it.
Yeah, someone said to me once, it's like having 1,000 interns, but you're still going to check the work.
100%, yeah. Especially if you're not careful with like cross chats or projects, so on and so forth. Like it could pick up something from a different brand.
Yeah, and I've actually noticed that firsthand where we were building one of our case studies on the website, and it started pulling in stats, and I was like, I didn't feed you these stats. Where are you getting these from? And it had gone off and sort of pulled them somewhere else, and I had to kind of tell it, stop, rewind.
We get it
just
now
use the information that we're actually providing you with.
Yeah, we get it now with reviews for clients. So part of our ad copy AI process is we pull reviews from like Trustpilot or various other destinations, and one of our prompts for ad copy is to utilize a review within the first like couple of words of the piece of ad copy.
Yeah.
And if you're not specific about it, it will make up the reviews. And obviously me looking at a review, it looks like a really good review, and I've read it again and I'm like, it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
So that is a part where you really have to be careful with.
So your time's gone less on the sort of admin of filling out these sort of documents to more, okay, we'll use AI to automate that doc for us, and then I'll spend more time actually consuming it, checking it, making sure it's on brand and stuff.
Exactly
like
that. Yeah. I think probably a word that's going to come up a lot today is efficiency. I think it's allowed me to be way more efficient with my time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends how you manage clients and how you sell on a service, whether you sell it in time or you sell it in so on and so forth. But for example, if we sold a client hours, it means I have more hours to actually work on the brand and on the ads, like for example, than doing the research. Research might have took a few hours previously, whereas now I can do it within an hour or two max.
Yeah, and I think that's right. And a lot of people worry that AI is going to, sort of make certain parts of their role redundant. But we're talking about like previous tech before, and it is kind of, it does make certain parts of the old role redundant, but then it gives you that time back to spend on the new parts where arguably you should have been spending a little bit more time in that area in the past, but you couldn't because of the admin load, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in paid social, it moves so quickly that you need to be on top of it every day. And if you're spending your time doing competitive research or any other analysis that previously did take hours and hours and hours, you were a little bit behind sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means you can be reactive. It means you can be quick on
just be super efficient
overall. Yeah,
for sure.
What I would add in terms of behavior and how we would actually treat our colleagues AI, I would treat them as colleagues, and that you could treat them as somebody that is basically your exec, and you teach him. In some cases, most of the cases, you teach him your job, you teach him what needs to be done, and you basically supervise him. Somebody said once that the basic skill that we need to have with AI is basically people skill to actually get good value out of a good output from them. The way you talk with it, the way you treat it, in the sense that you don't just throw a prompt at it and you expect that the work is going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You communicate your goals, you provide the information, you provide the context, and you basically, in some cases, when we're talking about Claude, we have skills, actually more models now using skills, but we basically teach the model how to act, how to behave, how to speak, what to look for, we guide it as we would guide the junior colleague that is just starting at that job. Of course, there's going to be cases where AI is big, it's better than us at other, where our expertise is not there. For example, I'm not a developer. So in my case, I have to trust the AI and learn from it from development perspective. But from my expertise being search, AI has to trust me because it has mistakes. But I'm teaching him how to act, how to behave, and how to provide good value.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think the more context you give as well, the better. You mentioned before about brand guidelines and making sure they're put into the chat as well. And, that's something that we do, I think, with a lot of our clients, make sure we do have their ICP nailed on, make sure we do have their targets, their tone of voice nailed down, because all that information can be so quickly absorbed and taken into account. But then you're right, you've got to kind of check it. You've got to teach it over time, haven't you? We were talking a little bit earlier, Eugene, about how mass adoption is so important for AI as well, right? Because I think, we kind of touched a little bit on it being adopted by many now, but a lot of the funding that comes from this is for mass adoption, right? So it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on where you think that's gonna go in the future.
There's few for mass adoption. There's few areas we can talk about. We do have a mass adoption, for example, in the explosion of ChatGPT. People actually starting using ChatGPT. We have hundreds of millions of accounts. Some of them migrated to Claude. I'm a fanboy, okay? But those people are still using these bots as chatbots. They're just basically bouncing back and forth from them, just talking some ideas. Sometimes they get help from writing an email or very, very, very basic tasks where we expect growth to happen. And this is where it will impact commerce and businesses, is people starting using agents for day-to-day business, from small email check and reviews to actually doing actions on the web, buying things, doing bookings. And we were talking earlier about ChatGPT being growing very fast in the first couple of months, 200 million users.
Yeah, in 2 months.
Basically, the biggest open source project that actually in the history was OpenClaw. I don't know if you guys are aware of OpenClaw. Who people who don't know about it, it's basically an agentic.
For the people who don't know, just explain anyway, because you've got people listening in, they mightn't have heard of OpenClaw before. So
it's basically an agentic framework that sits on your device. It's an agent that can has access to your browser, has access to your documents, has access to. Of course, it can be dangerous as well. There's ways to work around the safety measures, but it's basically your personal assistant.
Yeah.
And OpenClaw has been built in a weekend, and it's basically currently it has over 350,000 stars on GitHub because it's an open source project, but it has more stars than even the Linux system.
Right.
It grew up massively. For example, in Asia, people are queuing at the shops to actually have OpenClaw installed on their computer. So it's becoming a trend. My personal opinion, it's not the best agentic framework that we have. Since then, there's other better. But what this opens the door, it's to mass adoption. Mm-hmm. People are already trusting these agents to verify their emails, to respond to emails. I've seen cases where people are actually sharing messages where the agent is responding to customer inquiries through Telegram, to WhatsApp, or different other channels. They can make calls. So it's becoming your personal assistant. So I think this would be the next step where we are getting used to using these agents. Also, the labs like ChatGPT, OpenAI, Anthropic, they're also providing the tools on our computers. Like we have the Claude app desktop, or we have the Codex app, where those apps are becoming agentic and they have less friction. They are more safe, and we transition from just chatting with the bot to delegating tasks. And this is where we end up with agents buying stuff for us. And this is for us as an agency and for us as businesses. It's important. How do we address these agent needs?
Yeah.
How do these agents will discover our products? How they will interact with our website? Can this agent buy from my website? If not, they will be able to buy from the competitor website.
The buying one's interesting because I know that Shopify, who we're big partners with, have just got into conversations with ChatGPT about their cart functionality. So it's potentially leveraging the Shopify cart, which is the best in the world. It's got the highest conversion rate in the world, and implementing that right into the chat. So people should in theory, in the very near future, be able to make that purchase without even leaving the chatbot, right?
Yeah. And currently in US, for example, Google, it's already testing the agentic shopping.
Yeah.
The other day, I was actually trying to see if I can get it work in UK. I just needed to install my VPN. I didn't do it. But in the US, basically, if you browse the web, you should be able to see if an agent should be able to purchase on your behalf from the Google Shopping.
Yeah.
The same we have Amazon with Nova, that AI agent, which actually can make purchases directly on the Amazon website.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier with Rob about Google latest tool. It's called WebMCP, which is not yet live, but this tool will basically enable all websites to be able to be open and communicate, agents to communicate with our websites. Of course, we need to tailor our websites. We need to build them in a way for these agents to be able to communicate with the data and the content. But this is what enables them to actually make purchases, book flights.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've been talking a little bit about over the past few months, because I'm convinced this is going to happen, and we're starting to see it already. So in the Shopify Winter Editions, they started allowing these large language models to start calling their catalog data. So not just finding the information from the service or product pages, which would have been the norm in the past for when your bots were crawling your site, but giving them full access to your catalog data for an e-commerce store. I mean, that's going to change everything, right? We now have to optimize catalogs, and they are arguably going to be more important, to this opinion, but arguably going to be more important than the website itself.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that's like one of the areas of SEO that you wouldn't necessarily think of. It's not just all my meta titles are all exactly how they should be, they're all this length. It is about product data as well, because there's never been like a strict way of doing it. And we've got clients who work with multiple vendors. All their information, all that product is all coming through onto one Shopify site, and it's all very different. And yeah, if you imagine like a large language model looking at that, the thing you got to remember is it's not a person. It's looking at like ones and zeros and trying to determine what that means. And if it's all complete nonsense, it's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's even before it starts to hallucinate things.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a huge thing is getting product data like in a good way, that when things like this WebMCP come along, we can actually be like confident that it can purchase the right thing in the right way and like actually be productive as a shopping agent.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of the mass adoption will come from in the immediate future, being able to do it. I think I was reading an article the other day, I think it was M&S and B&Q in the UK are looking to have this functionality fully set up this Christmas. So you will be able to go onto your chat. You'll be able to ask it for your sort of Christmas list or your wish list. And that'll be delivered to your door before Christmas and you won't have to leave it. So we can see that big companies in the UK are making those shifts, and I'm sure their product data and their catalog data is going to be imperative to that.
Yeah. I think, and to make another comment on the mass adoption, and I will give myself an example in terms of using, for example, AI for search. I was skeptical at first. Working with AI a lot, I also know its flaws.
Yeah.
In that sense, but I said, I'm not using AI to search for products. But one day I found myself in Google, click by accident in AI mode. And basically, I was shopping for a CPU for a PC, and I started chatting with it, and I got lots of options, and I was going back and forth. But I don't. Is the CPU good for this task, or which one should I choose? And basically, it helped me pick up, giving me also options of products. I was able to pick up the one that I need. Look at me now, a few months later. When I'm actually looking for a product, I'm not going to Google to look for a product. I'm clicking the AI mode and I'm starting a discussion. What product should I buy? What would be good for this?
Yeah.
And I'm basically using AI mode. The same will happen with shopping.
Yeah.
And with right now, personally, I don't know. I don't trust an AI on my email.
Yeah.
But there's many people that actually trusting it, and they let an agent who work on their email.
Yeah.
But once we're just easily opening the door, I will probably eventually starting to use an agent on my email. And the next thing, I will probably handle him credit card or a debit card.
Yeah.
there's, for example, now we do have agent cards, which there's a new initiatives where you can an agent can create a debit card. It's going to be prepaid. You'll receive a payment link.
That's nice.
prepaid.
That's nice to know, because that is, I think that'll be the biggest sticking point is handing over the sensitive information, right? So yeah, allowing it to send emails on your behalf is one thing, especially if you can't approve them before I know there's a number of tools that allow you to approve them, which is really good. But to hand your credit card details over to an AI is going to be a big ask for a lot of people. I think the younger demographic will grow up with it and it'll be norm for them. But certainly the people with the biggest purchasing power in the UK at the moment, that older demographic, they're going to be very skeptical of this. So some sort of prepaid card does sound like sounds like a fix that they're already working on.
Yeah, and you can set up the limits and basically how these prepaid cards, not to advertise them, although we're friends, you basically get, they're disposable. The agent creates a card for a certain amount. You receive a link. You pay the amount through Stripe. That's the amount they can use it. So you have control over that credit card. If it's going to be £25 or £100, that's it, right? They've been used. There's no major security issues with data being leaked or anything. Yeah,
no, that makes a lot of sense actually, and I think that'll be really cool where you could just do the prepay option. And there's a limit that isn't there, so there's not a worry that it's going to go off and do something crazy. Yeah. I think we obviously being an e-commerce agency, we work with a lot of partners in the sort of space around gifting cards as well. And I was chatting with one of them just last week, and they were talking about how in Germany that's quite common just for subscriptions. You know, they don't even. I believe it's quite common in Germany for people not to give their credit card information solely to a business. If there's a subscription, they'll go for a prepaid option. So there's probably parts of the world that'll adapt to that a lot quicker than others as well. But it sounds like a good sort of not human gateway, but it sounds like there's a bit of control there. It's putting a barrier between your sensitive information and what it can actually do with those funds.
Exactly. And the more we advance, and we will see probably in the next following months and probably very, very soon in terms of years, we're not expecting. We're expecting actually a change to happen in very, very short time. In my opinion, probably in 1 to 2 years, we'll probably be using agentic shopping.
It's crazy because we always throw these numbers around, don't we? We go 1 year, 2 year, and then it happens next week, and you're like, oh god.
But we do have these initiatives that are actually, of course, because we care about privacy, safety, and security. And there's these companies or these scientists, researchers, or people that are creating tools that are going to be safe and protect. So in this case, for me, I would let AI buy something for me with an agent, with a card that is specific for that.
That's being prepaid.
How much money do you need? Yeah. Okay, I need 50 quid. Right? Send me the payment link. I'm paying 50 quid. Okay, go and buy. That's fine. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
But I would not give him, and probably this is where this would be a big stopper for many of us. You know, just giving you my credit card details, that would be a problem.
I think full access is definitely something that, again, it takes time to build that confidence, doesn't it? And I think the more you work with it, and that probably the more you make those payments through the prepaid method as well. If you do 100 of them, you might then be confident to give me because you know that's been okay for I've never had any issues type thing. So I think that'll.
On the same note, right, because now the models, and especially when we're talking about frontier models like Claude or ChatGPT, they do have a good alignment. So they are becoming more safe. I'm not saying that these models are going to be safe in any way, but they are becoming more cautious. So, for example, in my time playing with these models, if I ask Claude, use this skill, go create an agent card. He goes, creates an agent card. He gets scared because he sees the CVV number of the card. He says, oh my gosh, now this is in the chat. I shouldn't keep this. I said, no, it's safe. You can use it. Yeah. So in their training data, they are trained to be safe and they try. So normally they would not accept. But of course, we have lots of models now in the world and a lot of competition.
Yeah. And I think I've seen that a few times where you try and get something out of it and it's been a little bit, it's being told, hasn't it, by the people who create it, don't go down that route or don't go down this route and things like that. I want to pull it back to social again, have a camera up, because what I'm really interested in about is creatives. So videos, images. You know, I think if we compare it to 12, 24 months ago, you know, you'd look at an image, you'd be like, that's definitely AI. You could just call it out right away. And I started getting really annoyed on social media about 6 months ago because the videos started popping up where it was hard for me to even be like, is it AI? Is it not AI? Like, it was
Scary.
getting scary good. I done a complete U-turn. I was like, oh, this is basically doing my head in. Like, this is getting to the point where I'm not sure what is real and what's not. But from a creative standpoint, especially when, you know, we're pushing ads out on social and things and display ads, like how can we leverage it so we're not, you don't want to be seen as all your images are AI, right? Because we know that people won't engage with them if they're seeing it as blatantly obvious. But there's got to be some sort of line there, right, where we can leverage it to a certain degree to be more effective, to be more sort of commercially driven.
For sure, yeah. So creative and paid socials it's had a really weird journey over the past few years, and it's especially on the likes of Meta. Meta's changed massively over the last few years, and creative has been one of the biggest changes. Well, actually, creative and the actual delivery system. So if we think like 3-4 years back in terms of targeting our potential customers, for example, we would use broad audiences, but we would also use the likes of interests and behavior audiences. Now that would typically look at a person's Facebook account and see that they have liked the Nike page, for example, so they must be interested in Nike. Whereas over the past year or two, the AI systems at Meta have got so much better at understanding who your customer is. It's actually, it knows more about your customer than you do.
Yeah.
So broad has taken over a massive, to be honest, broad is pretty much the only audience targeting that we tend to look at the moment. It's so powerful. But
And this is allowing Meta the ability to go, you know what, I know this user was looking for a similar product that you're trying to promote yesterday. I'm going to put that ad in front of them.
exactly.
Whereas in the past, you might have had those parameters so finely tuned that the way you've got the ad set up wouldn't actually allow that ad to be shown to that person, right?
Yeah, for sure. So creative is now your targeting. So I think we mentioned before about allowing AI ad copy, for example. It has to speak to both humans and machines. Same on Meta. The creative or the copy within the creatives have to do both, because Meta has to recognize what that creative is selling or what it has in terms of structure of the creative, or what different USPs are being listed. There's tons of different like avenues and angles with it, but the main overall is that creative is the targeting now, and AI has massively helped that, because we've gone through a period where volume was everything. Everything was volume. We needed to just create as many creatives as possible, and especially with the Andromeda update around last year, it's meant that you can't just use AI to generate 20 images that are the same but have a different hook, for example, or a different overlay. They have to be very different, each creative now. So how AI was being used back then was very different to how we're using it now. Now we're testing it and making sure that it covers a number of angles. So all of our creatives touch multiple angles and multiple themes.
Gotcha.
And that is the target. And now it's the creative. And then obviously once you start to see some performance from a specific theme or a specific angle, that is where you double down, and that's where you start reiterating and again using AI to help you make that more impactful.
So has that sort of old school A/B testing model gone now, where you'd literally take two of the exact same creatives and you'd have one hook on one and a different hook on the other, and that could just be a change of copy, same creative, but you're just testing which one lands better? That's how I grew up doing A/B testing. It would always be the smallest tweak and then see which one wins, and then you then do another tweak, and eventually over time you end up with an amazing creative. It sounds like that's kind of
yeah. So for example, if we find a hook that is really, really strong, we would use that hook again.
Yeah.
But we may change the image in the background from a product shot to a lifestyle shot.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like constant iteration with them. But
the ability to make those iterations now, that was always okay. This ad's performed the best. We know the hook works. We want to change the background image, as you say.
Yeah.
So we'll create a brief. We'll get that into the design team. We'll wait a few days to get it back. We'll get client approval. We get it live. Now it's just a case of going.
It completely speeds up.
Yeah.
Completely speeds up ideation and production overall. We're obviously using it to generate hooks, scripts, angles, iterations. Obviously it used to take hours, and Now
Yeah.
it takes some minutes sometimes, but it's it's the learnings that are behind that.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, efficiency crops up. It's being efficient with it, but it's also moving with the times and moving with the systems, moving with the likes of Meta. As mentioned before, it changes pretty much every day at some points. So yeah, it's making sure that we're on top of it and making sure that the AI understands what our goal is and what obviously the platform goal is as well, because the platform is obviously what we have to live up to. We have to follow their standards. So the AI systems that we're using also have to follow their guidelines and follow their structures.
We won't get too much into the sort of the legal as well, but I know there's a number of UK and different states in the US who are now putting laws in place to sort of not police it to 100%, but definitely, I believe in the US and certain states now, if you're chatting to an AI bot on your website, they have to announce that you're chatting to an AI bot. They can't just pretend that it's a human and stuff. And I think a little bit of that went on in the past.
Yeah. I think we wrote a blog last year about what we predict for the next year.
Yeah.
And one of my predictions was I think there will be some sort of governing body for AI, similar to how influencers have to say that a post is an ad. You have to say ad on it. I think there's probably going to be some sort of verification or governing body that is going to make
like this
say,
is an AI generated
AI,
image, this is an
100%.
AI generated video, and that
It's like we were talking about before, like we're in an era of massive misinformation, and we could look at the likes of Twitter or X, Meta, LinkedIn, and sometimes you don't know if it's correct information or not, and it is quite scary.
That is the bit that scares me. It's I've got a lot of friends and family who don't work in digital, and they'll tell me how they're utilizing AI, and it's surprising when I find out that they believe that almost 100% of what they're being told is true.
Yeah, even what they see. So like image generations, come on tenfold since the likes of ChatGPT.
Have you seen the video of is it Will Smith eating spaghetti? And it goes some like how AI sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago and how good it's got now, and it is scary. It is so realistic, realistic now.
There's something really fascinating there actually as well. So that idea of like believing information on the internet, it can be exacerbated by something that's called cytogenesis. And if anyone's interested, I've written a very long article about it on the Velstar website. But as an example, the Pringles mascot, he's called Julius Pringles because somebody years ago, some like college students, went on Wikipedia, changed his name and said, oh, he's Julius Pringles. And then it started getting picked up by news outlets and stuff like that, to the point where the Pringles brand went, we don't know what he's called. Wikipedia says he's called Julius, so we'll do that. Julius. So like a lie became fact. And it just goes to show how easy that kind of stuff can happen, especially with AI now, because it's just picking up that information.
That's quite interesting. You were saying about Wikipedia before, and you have to now look at that as some sort of, not source of truth, but source of information. How do you tackle that with the fact that anybody can really edit a Wikipedia page, can't they? So
exactly.
I think you have to have a sign up.
You do, and Wikipedia it applies like value to you if you've done a lot of updates, and if like they're not just getting constantly flagged as false and stuff like that. So it does help when you've got like someone who can go in there and say, what I'm saying is actually true. So please don't flag that.
We're talking a little bit before about those personal agents and how people are using them and things like that as well. You touched a little bit at the start, Eugene, about how you think it's gonna take over. I always think back to what Elon Musk's doing with this Neuralink stuff as well, and whether they'll get AI where it actually becomes a sort of chip in the brain, so you've got all this knowledge right up front. Very sci-fi, very futuristic.
I don't think we'll go there today.
No, we're not going to go there today. But it's interesting just how reliant people are becoming on these AI agents, right? And we've touched a few different cases of how we're feeding the agents, how we're actually relying on them now from a creative standpoint. What are your thoughts on sort of AI moving forward? And we talk about people using them as therapists, people using them as online shoppers. I've got different projects on mine for different conversations that I want to jump back into and have. Like, where do you see it sort of moving forward in the next sort of 12, 24 months?
I think AI will become part of our lives. It will become our, let's call it our body.
Yeah.
That will be part of our lives. And there's few reasons for that. First of all, we as humans, we are fascinated about autonomy. We are fascinated about seeing an entity, and I'm going to call it an entity, in the sense of speaking back to us and actually taking decision. It's something that we love to see it happen. And even if by experimenting with it, we will adopt it. The other aspect is that the companies are going to push, and there is a lot of discussion about democratizing AI in that sense. And it becomes like internet. It's something that every person should need, and he shouldn't spend a fortune to actually be able to afford a language model. On the same note, we do have models that are smaller. And for example, Google just launched open source. Open source, it means basically it's a model that it can be used by anyone and can be modified with no license restrictions. So recently they launched a series of models they're called Gemma 4. And the smallest one it's only 2 billion parameters. It can be installed on a mobile phone. It's not controlled by Google. Your data, it's private. It's yours. You can use it how you please. And it's going to become your AI body, which can work in your pocket in that sense.
Yeah.
So the more we go in time, I think we will adopt. I think at this point, of course, there's also a generational shift, right? There's a generation that there's still people that they don't even know about what ChatGPT, and I hate using this name as I
it's
don't
probably the well-known one, isn't it?
I don't want to become a Google it or ChatGPT in that sense. But there's still people that are not using it. So we do have that type of generation, but there's we also have heavy users, which we're talking about treating AIs like a therapist, or don't want to go into the other area or more intimate of the internet. But right now, the biggest point that is being used is this autonomous agents.
Yeah.
And especially new generations, my generation and even younger, they're basically installing these AI agents and let them run. There's hosting companies like even from Hersner and all biggest companies, they provide cloud systems where you can host your own AI agent starting from $2 a month or $3 a month. And basically you have an agent that is going to message you on your platforms, on Telegram, WhatsApp, or whatever platform you use, and you can have back and forth.
Yeah.
For example, I set it up for someone recently, which didn't use too much AI, and I set it up a Telegram agent for them.
Okay.
You can generate images with their own image likeness. You can just talk. If you can help you with your business in the sense of it needed help with writing content.
You know what? That is interesting, isn't it? Because you're opening up your AI bot to have the conversation, but maybe what you're saying there, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it could go to the point where you're just opening WhatsApp and you're messaging your agent, or you're picking up the phone and you're doing a voice call with your agent, and it becomes another person in your life who is there only for you, really.
Yeah, and it's becoming, this is where we're moving, because we're moving away from the ChatGPT, Claude, Anthropic, Gemini apps, and they're moving into our lives, into our platforms that we're using in day to day.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Alexa to get the AI kicking in, because does me head in a little bit of Alexa. It's just
Should we talk about Siri?
I know, right? I know.
Apple Intelligence.
But it's interesting with that purchasing, because people have been purchasing for Alexa for the last few years now, and quite comfortable to do so. I'm just mindful of time. We've got about just over 5 minutes left. Obviously, if anyone's at home, have got any questions, please let us know, and we'll get to them. Just before we do so, I just want a quick whip round around sort of the business's bottom line and revenue. There's been a few reports that have been published recently to say that 54% of firms in the UK are now leveraging AI within their processes. That's an increase on 23% about 3 years ago. So a big jump there, almost double. And then there has also been a subsequent report by, I think it was Lloyds Banking Group and the Chamber of Commerce, to say that companies who are leveraging AI, I think about just over half of them are showing good profit as well. You know, some of them even in that sort of double digit growth. Now, I'm not saying that is specifically related to AI, but there's definitely a mindset there of, you know, with company owners of what can we do to be at the front line? How can we get that competitive advantage? And I think that's what we're seeing with our clients. A lot of the questions getting now is, you know, we don't want to be late to the party. I believe we're still kind of at that early stage where if brands and companies are taking that jump into AI now, they are going to still see that competitive advantage. And once you get number one spot on for that search query on ChatGPT, for example, it's going to be quite hard to get you knocked off it because of the time invested. So just a quick rip round before we get into the Q&A is sort of, if what could a company do almost immediately today? What would your advice be to these brands if they do want to start leveraging AI from a productivity and efficiency, ultimately a bottom line perspective? Start with you, Eugene.
There's probably the simplest way is start using it in your day-to-day workflow. Use a subscription like Claude, which I would recommend, not being paid by them, or use ChatGPT, but use it in your day-to-day workflows and realize the potential that it has. There's of course we are also always available as an agency to provide some consultation, some guidance in that sense.
We've just moved over to Claude as our preferred, haven't we? And we are very invested, I'd say, in that agentic approach. And just for anyone who doesn't understand the difference, your agentic is the AI actually executing workflows, executing tasks for you, not just coming back with conversations. But no, I think that's a cracking piece of advice, Eugene. Rob, where would you start with your brands and your businesses of today's world? How can they get that competitive edge straight away?
Yeah, well, sort of building on what Eugene said, I think a really good first step is whatever type of AI you want to use, get it to look at your business as though it's never seen it before. It kind of gives you a fresh pair of eyes on it. And if nothing else, it can sort of help to highlight that this is its own audience. And when you spent potentially decades catering towards humans, and suddenly there's this other audience. Yeah, it does require a different approach, and getting those eyes on that can give you that little bit of insight.
So you use an AI to proof the work that you're providing.
Yeah, essentially, and it can help. It can seem daunting when you do that, but also again, like we've said, we're trying to be the people who can help with that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and I think we are very well set up to do that type of stuff. And just on that point of asking them about your own business, it's really interesting because I talk about this all the time about these internal blinkers that brands that have on. And especially if you're an in-house marketing team, for example, the longer you spend with a company, the more those blinkers sort of stay present, and you can get too much into the company and not looking at the company and how people are perceiving and having that sort of user-centric sort of view of it. So yeah definitely those sort of those questions make a lot of sense.
It doesn't have that same bias, and that's something that's really important. I was speaking with a client a couple of weeks ago and talking about competitors, and I named a brand and said, what about them? And they went, oh no, they're not a brand that we're interested in. And I said, yes, but AI thinks that it is. And if that thinks it is, then that means that you should also think that, because it is going to treat you two as a competitor.
Yeah, and an indirect competitor, right? It won't be a competitor in your eyes, but they are grabbing attention that you're trying to grab at the same time as well. Rob, what are your thoughts on how companies can leverage it off the bat?
I think speed is probably the best competitive. I know it's mirroring what you've just said, but speed, I think, is the biggest competitive advantage with AI. And I think that's how brands can get ahead early doors, especially smaller brands. Like if you're a smaller brand, you obviously don't have a huge team. So years ago where it was really tough to get like video content or to get written content, you'd have to hire someone or hire a freelancer. You can now set up agents to do that for you. So I think the speed is the biggest advantage for especially smaller brands, but bigger brands as well. It's being efficient, and it's finding pockets of or areas of your business that aren't super efficient, don't necessarily make you any money. You might spot a part of your business that isn't monetized whatsoever, but it takes up a massive chunk of your time. Yeah. And it's about how you can use AI to your advantage to either take that pressure off your hands and let the AI agent sort that out for you, so you can focus on tasks that make
the bits that do make the money. No, that's a good point. Actually, using that, I'm just mindful of time. I do want to get to this last question as well. So someone's asked, and it's very similar to what we're talking about now, is when do you think AI search will be monetized? Which I know for a fact it is being monetized by a number of our clients already. We've got a line on there, GA4, which will show them exactly how much revenue they're making from AI. So I don't think it's a case of when. I think it's happening now, and I think businesses who stop. If I sort of answer my own question, I think businesses who treat AI as an additional revenue stream are going to be the ones who start leveraging it more as well.
And it is another revenue stream because
sure.
I'm trying to go be quick on this one. Search is basically changing in the sense that people now it's not only about Google or Bing. Search is becoming a multi-channel, and from a couple perspectives. One of them, we do have these LLMs that are going to do the search for you. There's agents that are going to do research for you, but also we have generations actually searching on different platforms.
Yeah.
So people are going to use LLMs or AI to search for this product. Yeah.
That's it. I think so. Just to sort of recap as the takeaways, then is start integrating it into your daily process. Start to understand what agentic AI actually means for you in your business. Look at those spots in the business that might not be monetized, and can there be efficiencies there? Make sure we talk about product catalogs being optimized so that when people are searching, and I think just treating it as a revenue stream. And putting the thought and attention into it as you would of any other revenue stream as well, would be a really nice way. So we are gonna close off soon. We're on the hour mark now. I just want to let everyone knows listening at home, as an agency, we are offering an AI visibility audit. So if you did want to see how you stack up against those competitors or those indirect competitors who you might not know about, but basically just, are you being found through these conversations that people are having with AI now? And do you have the foundations in place to be able to start selling through AI when that becomes relevant as well? We think that's probably going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months for sure. Cool. Well, I think that probably wraps us up, gents. Thanks very much for coming. Appreciate it. Everyone who's joined us at home as well, thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And any questions with anything to do with AI, drop us a line at visit the Velstar site or what have you. So they're the plugs out the way. So thanks very much. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks you.
All right. Cheers.